Hello, my name is Reese Kayakamayang, and you're watching rptv News. On today's episode, we cover the continuous planning on the agenda of the stakeholders meeting that will be happening on November 27th, about the promotion of the SDP, the work groups and funded projects that will be presented that day, discussing items that will be implemented into Regent Park, and assigning tasks that each of the committee members need to finish. The Regent Park Social Development Plan, also known as the SDP, is a community-wide initiative aimed at fostering unification and community collaboration. The Social Development Plan is constructed by 4 areas of priority. These include the Community Building Working Table, the Safety Network, Employment and Economic Development, and lastly, the Communication Table. In addition to the 4 working groups, there is the SDP Planning Committee, which meets weekly to help guide the committee's activities. This week's meeting took place online on November 16, 2023. The primary agenda of the meeting was the scheduling of the stakeholders meeting on November 27th. The meeting was facilitated by Joel Klassen and Ismail Mohammed. In this week's meeting, some of the key discussions centered around these 2 key points: the discussion of the presentation about community building, the Employment and Economic Development Working Group and Communications Group, and assigning and completing tasks for each of the committee members. Now let's head to the meeting.
The committee makes recommendations to the SDP stakeholders table on strategic direction and action priorities, intercommittee alignment, coordination, stakeholder and resident engagement by supporting the SDP stakeholders table to ensure that the meetings are effective, by supporting the 4 working groups to be prepared to report at the SDP stakeholder table meetings, by addressing requirements and/or requests that need quick response, by identifying information and/or expertise that stakeholders require in order to make sound and informed decisions, by developing facilitation approaches that increase the capacity of all stakeholders to engage in discussion and decision making.
Okay. Can we review the agenda? We sort of did a brief review, just as we were a small group. Welcome, Miguel. Where are we at now? We're at 7. Still, it's not quite as small a group. So we have we have a number of things related to the stakeholders table. We have a question of whether we begin in-person meetings for the planning committee, and then we have doing an evaluation of the meeting. And our last item is updates, any updates on city staff and councillor meetings. Okay. Our next facilitator, I guess, is Leah. Is that right?
Correct.
Ismail, okay. And do you want to go through any upcoming SDP events and meetings?
Sure. Okay, so for the week of November 19th, on November 20th, we have Evaluations and Benchmarks meeting at 1 p.m. We have RPSN monthly meeting at 5:30 p.m. And then on Tuesday, November 21st, we have agenda planning at 3:30 as usual. And we have an employment and EED meeting at 5 p.m. I believe this is a monthly community meeting. And then we have nothing for Wednesday 22nd. And then on November 23rd, Thursday, we have planning committee in the evening. That is all the events for next week.
Did you say there was something at Tuesday before the working group meeting?
Tuesday, we have agenda planning and we have
Oh,
EED.
all right.
Yep.
Can we also set the time for the terms of reference meeting, since we don't seem to have been able to do that yet?
I agree. We need to confirm it. An email was sent out with regards to the doodle poll. Thank you, Chanel, for sharing the text. But we haven't confirmed the date, so maybe we could do that.
So that's a review of agenda piece. Can we put that at the end of the agenda? Or at least I would suggest we put it after the stakeholders table.
Yeah, that's a good idea after.
Okay. So, oh, go ahead, Adonis.
Yeah, sorry, I think I'm having trouble with my internet. Let me stop the video. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Ismail, we have a communications meeting on Monday.
Donis, could you send me the calendar invitation for that, and then I can easily add it to the SDP calendar?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that the same day as the RPSN meeting?
Correct.
It is.
What's on that? What?
The safety network. It falls frequently on the same day as the.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to any updates on the report backs from the funded projects. Ismail, I think this is to you.
Yes, yes. So I've been in communications with the funded groups who are reporting back. I've also sent communications to working groups and CBOG as well. And I've given them instructions for how the presentation will be. I've asked for a few slides that they can share with us, as well as the name of the presenter. And for the information package that will be sent out a week in advance of the November 27th meeting, I've sent them a template to fill out, which outlines their summary, people involved, and other details, so that attendees, when they come for the November 27th meeting, they would have already had material to familiarize in case they have any questions or if they're looking for anything specific during the presentation. So, yes.
And how many report backs do we have confirmed?
We have 6 funded projects confirmed. Plus, and I don't think the 6 include the ARAP report back.
Okay. Which is also confirmed.
Yes.
Great. Sorry, I think I might have heard somebody's voice. Did somebody want to say something? Okay. All right. So we'll move on then to the agenda. We want to, I think, finalize the agenda today, ideally. This is our second last meeting before the stakeholders table meeting. So let's intend to do that. I have a proposal that came out of the agenda planning meeting on Tuesday for the shaping culture item, that we actually do have a decision that come out of it, not a final approval for it, but taking into account, Adonis, what you were recommending last week, what an idea that we have would be to propose to the stakeholders table that we adopt these documents on a trial basis, and that we actually actively use them and you know, have a plan for training on them and so on, including with feedback, like that we have a stage of feedback from any groups that are willing to give us feedback, and then after that we start to use them on a trial basis, and then we'd have final approval at the next stakeholders table meeting. So that this agenda item then would there be a bit of a presentation, but there'd also be a decision that would come out of it. People okay with that approach to that agenda item?
Very much.
I don't think it quite goes as far as you were hoping it to go, Adonis, but it goes part way anyway. We can be saying that to the city that we are actively testing it out.
Hello.
Michael?
So I think that how this goes will depend a lot on how much people really think they can do things differently as a result of this. I think some of I did send a note to Ibrahim. I didn't know whether other people were interested in that. So, and I didn't know whether he would be here today or if anybody else would be discussing it. And I suppose a trial period is reasonable compromise. How it actually goes, I think, will depend a lot on whether people perceive this as being something fundamentally new that they can now use in a certain way, which I would consider to be abuse of it. But so, in other words, how this goes will really depend a lot on the attitude that people bring to it. And I was certainly concerned about the attitudes that people were bringing to it when they were discussing why they wanted certain words in it. But I think there's still an opportunity that people will not use those words in that way. I just don't know. So I hope that the attitude doesn't go down that trail, but we'll see.
Okay, other comments, thoughts?
My hand's up.
Oh,
sorry.
okay, sorry. I'm really. I need help. I can't see everybody. Yeah. So I think if I don't say anything,
Yeah.
just do what you just did, Marlene. Just
Okay.
just let me know that your hand's up. So I don't know who's first. I have Adonis and Marlene.
I think I was, yeah. And then I think Adonis and then
Waleed.
Waleed. Yeah, I'm not concerned about that. I think this is the reason to do this on a trial. And if it's not being used, in a way that we feel comfortable, there are going to be comments about it and time to make changes. That's the whole point of a trial, is that you can change what you don't like and accept what you do. I think we have to start using it somewhere, and I don't want to ratify it until it's been tried, frankly. So I'm perfectly happy with going in on a trial.
Adonis and then Waleed.
Yeah, I personally don't see what the difference is a trial or whether you say that we launch the basically approve it, but then have to revisit the next stakeholders meeting, like to revisit when you want to do it again, like get feedback and revisit it again.
I guess I have an answer to that, but I'll let Waleed go first, and then I'll give an answer.
Also, I think we're all saying the same thing with just semantics. In my opinion, I think if it helps by calling it a trial or an approval of the documents on a trial basis, it's okay. It's the same thing as approving it and then revising it at a future stakeholders table. So please, let's not get stuck on the semantics of language here. I think the intent is to have it considered by the stakeholders table, and there needs to be an endorsement of its use, even if it's for a trial basis. Because if it's just for information, then there's no real teeth. If we don't approve it by planning, or if we don't approve it by the stakeholders table, there's no real teeth to use it, right? But if there is a commitment by stakeholders for its use, then we should proceed. So I will recommend that we leave it to the group to decide and not prevent people from deciding.
So I have 2 points. I don't see hands. I have 2 things I'd like to share. So I see in the chat, Waleed, you say, I think we should gauge if folks want to approve it. And my approach to doing that gauging is to make a clear proposal that we propose that we do this, and then people can make a decision as to whether they accept that proposal or not. That would be the function of that agenda item. And my answer to the question of the difference between trial and approval is, to a point, I could say, yes, it's semantics, but I think this points me to another piece that should come here as part of the decision. I will prepare a rollout plan for feedback and training and for implementation of the trial that would culminate in the next stakeholders table meeting. And that would, the point there is that this becomes, we're clearly being very intentional still about this being a live document that we expect will have a different shape by the time we come back, which is just that the message there is that the process is still very much open to ongoing feedback. And of course, it will always be something that we could revise, but it's just a little bit more live to revision at this moment. So it may be a small thing, but that's my answer to the question about the difference between trial and approval.
So then perhaps, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Go ahead.
So then perhaps what we're looking for is approval of a stakeholders table meeting of your rollout plan, right? That's all we're probably seeking then, just to have it out on the trial basis and then get the feedback. And then once the feedback is implemented into the shaping culture, then we seek approval at next year's stakeholders table meeting.
Yeah, I could do it that way. Like the role of the plan would have the trial in it. So I don't know if Michael I don't know if you wanted to talk, and we have Adonis too.
Hello.
Yeah. Who's first, Joel?
Go ahead, Michael. If you wanted to speak, go ahead.
Okay. Then I think we should have the SDP culture meeting next week. The 1 o'clock time is open. So if you want there to be a actual proposal document, then we should probably have that meeting.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I can do that. Adonis?
Yeah. I guess to me, I don't mind if you do it in terms of launching it as a trial, but to me, it has to be clear that we're putting this process in place. Yes, we're getting feedback from whatever, and there's a plan, but it has to be clear that it's something that we are putting in place and we want people to use, right?
How about approval in principle? How about that phrase, Adonis?
Approval in principle.
Oh, you didn't. Well, whatever. I'm just trying to find something that reflects what you're thinking.
I don't fully understand your objection, Adonis. Can you explain what it is you're concerned about?
My concern is that when these issues come up in the policy documents, such as there could always be the claim that, no, this policy doesn't exist yet.
Well,
that I don't have to follow this because it doesn't exist.
But I think that's what we agreed to, that we're going to put it into place as though it does exist. And that's what we have to agree to.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that I don't mind it being said it's a trial, but it has to be clear that we're adopting it until we're adopting this policy, and we'll be revising it at the later date.
I think the only difference is we're going to put it into place, but we can still complain about it. Okay. The other way, when it's adopted, you put it into place and you don't get to argue about it because it's done. Okay. A trial means you can, you're going to try and live by it, but you say if you don't like it and you'd like something changed when we end the trial period.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the time to scrutinize it,
Yeah,
So when
just
we make the,
making
if I
it
understand
clear.
you, Adonis, I see you too, Michael. If I understand you, Adonis, you're saying when this is presented, you want it to be clear to the group that there's an expectation to use it. It's not optional.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so we can make that clear. That can be very spelled out quite clearly.
For sure.
Michael?
I mean, that concern works in both directions. I mean, people might, also be concerned that we're going to use a document that hasn't actually gone through a process of feedback and amendment. And that people are going to be asked to vote that they will have to follow it. So that concern is concerning in the other direction as well. I mean, I mean, this just basically comes back to the basic problem of whether, the document or this kind of approach is somehow the fix, that the most important thing is to get it in place, because having it go through a trial where it might not be fully enforced is somehow the danger, because the document is so valuable and as is the absolutely clear solution. So as long as we're still having that disagreement, I think there's going to be some potential. I mean, obviously it depends on specifically what happens from moment to moment, but there's going to be potential for some disappointment.
Sure.
That if we don't have, other aspects of culture and organizational behavior in place, and if this document is intended to fix a problem when we haven't tried any other fixes, then people may be disappointed by the inadequacy of this approach, and that it won't actually do as much to solve the problem as they believe it will. So I hope we go into this with the right attitude, that this is not the be-all and end-all, even if we do agree to actually put it in place during the trial period. But the attitude that somehow is so essential is concerning, because I don't think this document will do as much to solve the problem as if we had taken a different approach. And we still need to take some of those other approaches, even if we are going to put this document in place, even from the beginning of the trial period. But just don't put too much hope in that as being the all solution.
Okay, I do feel like we're pretty much ready to say that we will make it a trial, and that there's concerns in various directions, but we'll put that as a decision to the stakeholders table meeting.
Joe, we have Marlene who raised her hand.
Thank you. Go ahead, Marlene.
Look, I wouldn't get too sort of concerned about any of this, frankly. I mean, it's like a drug trial, for Pete's sake. You go in with a certain assumptions. You don't know how it's going to turn out, but you're going to try. And I think you go into these things in good faith, saying, I will give you my personal opinion, okay? And I've said this to you before, Joel. I have problems with a lot of these rules and regulations, okay? Because I think in most part, they turn out there because people want punitive solutions, okay? So I have always had difficulties with these things, but it's one way. It's one way. I think there are a lot of other things within our community that need to be addressed in terms of how we feel about each other and whether we support each other, and on and on and on. That's my personal opinion. Nevertheless, we've done this. It's worth trying. We'll either see it as helpful, really helpful, somewhat helpful, or not helpful at all. It's a trial. It is a trial. And if we go in going, you know what, it's not like somebody goes into a drug trial and say, well, I won't take that pill today. Well, then what the heck's the trial for? Okay. for the length of time that and I think we need to set a deadline of how long we're going to do this, how many sessions we're going to use this, and let people give feedback, and say, we're going to do this in good faith. We're going in. I'm going to swallow those pills every single time. I'm going to abide by these rules, see how it works. If this is used badly, if it makes me feel uncomfortable, if I'm not happy with this, I'm going to say so. I may follow it, but I'm going to give feedback. And then we'll see what we do with it. It is one tool in what should be a larger toolbox. But I think it is a legitimate tool. Whether I like these things or not, I think you have to have something. So
Okay.
I wouldn't get that bent out of shape about it. I don't think it's that big a deal. We try it out, and what happens, happens.
Thanks, Marlene. Yeah. Okay, I do want to remind people that the decision here that we're proposing is for the stakeholders table meeting.
Right.
And so like if we're agreed to put it on the agenda for the specific decision that we're naming, then let's move forward. Do you have a point on that issue, Miguel? Do you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say Miguel raised his hand. I wasn't sure if you saw it.
Yeah.
No, I saw it. Yeah. Do you have a point on that issue, Miguel, rather than sort of weighing in on the document itself?
Miguel, you're muted.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
go ahead. Go ahead, Miguel. Now I hear you.
Yeah, totally agree with Marlene. It's at best the best shot that we have to deal with this culture in this community of offense and drama, because we keep fighting and not solving our bigger problems, which is the progress and benefit of this community but instead we have been dragging on with so many individuals in this community. It's time to address this matter once and for all. Yeah, good plan. I wish you luck. We wish you luck. See how it goes. Because with TCAC, I have given up remedy any conflict of resolution, because most of the time the perpetrators decided not to go further into mediation. So it's very frustrating. Thank you.
Okay, so I see you, Marlene. Just again, asking people if you have a point to make on the question of whether this goes to stakeholder table for decision.
Yeah, I do. I don't quite understand, and maybe I'm just not understanding why it's going to the stakeholders table and why it isn't going to planning, because it seems to me this is where we're using it most of the time, is in the planning committee. I would have thought they'd gone to planning.
Yeah, I think the understanding for this from the beginning of it was that the stakeholders table is the place for decision.
Okay.
Planning is the place for sort of just preparing things for decisions. And that's part of it. And the other part is that the goal is that these documents be used throughout the SDP, not just at planning.
Okay.
Those are two parts to it.
Okay, fine.
Okay, thanks,
Yep.
folks. Miguel, I think that's an old hand. What's the next piece? And correct me if I'm wrong, Miguel. Can you go down, please, Ismail?
Yes. So can I change this one to decision?
Yeah, just say decision.
Yeah.
And or whoever's presenting will describe the decision.
Oh, really quickly, I wanted to ask about timing, or did we want to come back to that afterwards, Joel?
No timing. Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. Given that it is a decision, it probably would take a little bit longer, eh? What do you think, folks? How long do we need for this? Can we do it in 30?
Sure. Let me give it 30 minutes.
Before we try to extend this, I want to point out that all the working groups and the funded projects currently only have 5 minutes to present and do questions and answers. So if we extend this, that's going to push them even smaller or another item.
What have we allowed for it?
So right now I have it scheduled at 20 minutes. I was going to ask at this meeting that we reduce it to 15 if it was only going to be for information. However, if we keep it at 20, that means we have 15 minutes for CBOG, 10 minutes for evaluations, and then every other presentation thereafter is only 5 minutes each.
Can I say something here? I think if we were sort of working out the nitty gritty of what's in this, you need a lot of time. But if all we're asking people to do is to be willing to go into a short trial, and as I said, I would put a time limit on it, I don't see what the big deal is about people saying they're willing to do that. I don't see why it should take more than 15 minutes. It's not a big ask. It's just saying, we're going to give this a shot. And you can comment, you can criticize, you can say what you like about it, what you don't like about it, but it's just a trial. It's not carved in stone.
I think the reason is that anytime you make a decision, decisions take time.
Yeah, but the decision is not a hard one in this case. We're not talking about nailing it down forever.
There's no such thing as a decision that's not hard.
Oh, you know what I'm saying, Joel. You know what I'm saying. Some decisions are a lot harder than others.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm just like, that's our experience, right?
Yeah, well, I would try to do it within 15 minutes and try to really tell people, come on, this is a short duration thing. It's not going to change anybody's life.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, this is the only remaining decision-making item on the agenda, and we've taken other things that were going to be decisions off, or at least one other one. So, and there is still some sort of sense that, on the one hand, this is not a big deal, and on the other hand, it's important that it actually be in place, which suggests that it is a big deal. So it's not completely obvious that it's not a big deal, even to the people who are fully in support of it.
Could you, Michael, can I ask you to
I would
your
certainly
time?
would like to see, I don't know how long the presentation is going to be, but, I can't see this. I mean, obviously I have no idea what people are going to say, right? I mean, if I just say something like, some reservations but not an opposition, and other people have nothing to say, then it won't take very long. But I don't know whether that's how it's going to go. I would not put less than 25 minutes for this, because, the presentation is going to take some time.
How hard is that to explain?
So I've got a suggestion then, folks. It's true, we can't control how long things take. If people put their hands up, the way that we do these things is we let them speak. So I would say I would ask members of the planning committee, and especially members of the shaping culture group, to really have restricted comments. We've had lots and lots of space to speak into this. When we get to the stakeholders table, let's leave the space for people for whom this is new information. Yeah. If it does end up taking longer than we want it to take, I think that we have to adjust at that point and maybe give less time, as you're saying, for the presentations if we have to. That's my suggestion of how we manage the time. Adonis?
All right. Some of the things that we could, I really encourage that. Like if people have, if this is a trial and planning members who have already looked at the document and are part of that discussion already, knowing that it's a trial, I totally agree with you, Joel, that if we're presenting it, we should be presenting it as something that we're agreed upon, and that we will fix whatever problems that we have or feedback in the upcoming time that we have in terms of the next stakeholders or whatever the date of the
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
other
that's the
thing I
time.
would-
That's the time frame. Yep.
Yeah. The other thing I would encourage is that the documents go out to everybody on the SDP membership.
Good idea.
And the third thing I would encourage whoever is presenting it, that not having the opportunity to read the documents is not again, encouragement is not a rationale for voting against it. That people should, who haven't had an opportunity, even though they got the documents, we propose that all the members got the document and has read the documents, really encourage that if you haven't gotten the document, you need opportunity to read it, and not to vote against it, but to use this time period, the trial period, as an opportunity to go through the documents and test it. I think that's really important because you're going to get that objection. I haven't read the documents. How can I pass this? And if you could cut it off like right away, again, not a rule, but saying we really encourage you. We know that there's a lot of content in here. And if you haven't had a time to go through it, rather than objecting to this process, we really encourage everyone to either abstain or just support it, and knowing that we will revisit this.
Okay. I think that's good. Yep. Michael?
Okay, so as for that last point about sort of asking people to approve it, even if they're not, haven't seen it yet, go ahead and ask for that. But I think that will almost encourage people to become more against it. I actually think there's very little chance people will disapprove of this. Because the problems with it are subtle towards how people are using it rather than the words in the document itself. So I think there's a good chance that people won't object to it. But if you ask them specifically not to object, then they might want to.
Okay. So what's next? Can you go down, please, Ismail? Okay. So we're good for shaping culture. Anything else for the rest of this? The rest is all information. Does CBOG need 15 minutes?
What are we talking about? CBOG?
Well, we would have to ask who would lead that.
Yeah, he'd be the best person to ask. Okay, so let's just shelve that for now.
Okay.
Evaluations, I think that's pretty straightforward in terms of timing, and all that's good. I think the only thing that I said in relation to the working group updates is, if depending on earlier parts of the agenda, we need to take some time out, we'd have to take it out. Well, actually, working group updates might be a good place to take it out because, well, no, they're all 5 minutes, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Correct.
Ismail?
Correct.
So yeah, we should maybe just the facilitators will have to manage and figure out how we're going to move through the agenda. Yeah, I would just say in terms of the funded, maybe the funded projects should go before the working groups. I think if we're going to ask people who don't necessarily come to the meeting or aren't as involved in the SDP to attend a meeting, we should respect their time and make sure that they get to go. And if we have to cut something out, we would cut out working group updates. That's a suggestion that I have. So it's a suggestion to the order of the agenda. I don't know if people have thoughts on that. Is Ismail?
I love that idea. I think because for a lot of the funded projects, I think for some of them it's their first time presenting, and out of respect for their time, and also while we still have energy in the room, giving them a chance to present, because it's only 5 minutes that they get. I think that would be nice, but again, that's without having prior experience at these types of meetings.
Adonis?
Yeah, so I I think it's important that we think about promoting awareness of the SDP.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Projects come through the working groups. And we want to really stress that, I think. And so I think that we should have the work groups and then the projects who are attached to the work groups present.
Mm.
And then and move on down the list. I think that helps with people understanding the alignment, and it helps with, in terms of us, why we chose these priority working groups.
Any thoughts about Adonis's proposal? I accept that. Let's call that a friendly amendment.
Hello?
I think we have Michael, and I think then Ismail. Is that, and a new hand again, Adonis, or an old hand?
No, sorry, old hand.
Okay, Michael, and then I believe Ismail.
So how many reports were there going to be that were not projects that are directly working with a working group? And is the proposal just to group them at the end or to not do those ones? I still think they have to be done because a lot of people are concerned specifically about the projects that are not associated with the working groups and that we don't get as much reporting from them. So I don't know what the proposal is, but I could say group them together at the end rather than not doing them.
Can I ask Adonis? I think that your proposal spoke to that directly, so maybe Michael didn't quite get it, but maybe I didn't understand. Can you just say your proposal again, please, Adonis? Is Adonis frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you could. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but
yeah.
you're frozen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mike, that's a little bit of clarity of what I was saying. That all the projects are supposed to be aligned to one working group or another. Not that they're a project of the working group, that they're supposed to be aligned with them. So all 6 projects and all the 8.
Now I don't hear Adonis. No, now you're back again.
So I was saying that all the projects, all 8 projects that were funded are under alignment of one of the working groups. Not necessarily a direct project of the working group, but they're aligned with the working group, or should be. And I think the working group should, in terms of helping people understand the structure, the working group should present, and then all the projects that are under their working groups should present right after that. Is that clear?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So community building presents, and then any projects aligned with community building present, and then employment presents, and any projects aligned with employment present. Am I hearing you correctly, Adonis?
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Good.
That's great. Yeah.
We still have the issue around timing, and so the facilitators will have to manage the time. But I think that's as much as we can say for the agenda right now. So Ismail?
Yeah, Joe, you had 2 hands. So you have me and then Marlene right after.
Oh no, my hand's not up.
Oh, sorry. I thought I saw your hand up earlier.
Oh no.
Could I ask for support then, really quickly, off the top of our heads, who we think each of these funded projects are connected with, and then I'll make those changes according to that, because I do agree with Adonis's plan. Since this meeting is about promotion of the SDP, I think this is the best way to organize it, and it's easier to follow along. So with tech library, do we know which working group?
Communications. Sorry.
Thank you. So we have communications, and then for ARAP,
Community building.
community building.
They're not. It's a different than others, but we'll just call it community building.
And then for TFAA,
Community building.
and then Filipinos in Regent Park, community building.
Community building.
This one's EED. And then, of course, communications for focus. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adonis.
Yeah, no communication.
Hello, neighbor. Communications?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there more, isn't there? No?
So this is just the master list.
Oh,
I need
okay.
to remove this, but I guess what I'll do is I'll move it to another document.
Yes, yes. Okay, great. Okay, so let's keep moving on. What comes next in the agenda?
Actually, before we continue, I had one question to ask everyone here. So the format that I have for all the report backs is I have 5 minutes to present their item. So with the new way that we're organizing it, for example, EED would present for 5 minutes, take any Q's and A's, and then they would prompt any funded projects of EED to present. So in this case, Regent Park Women's Entrepreneur Group would present for 5 minutes. And then basically how it's outlined over here, presentation of the item, questions and clarifications, and then we move on to the next item. I just want to ask if we're happy with this. Adonis, I do see your hand up. If it's, go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest that a couple of suggestions. First, the ones who have the most projects under them, it looks like community building, should be presented first. And then the ones who have the least should be presented last. So that way, people who from the projects want to leave, they couldn't leave. The second thing I suggest is that the questions and clarifications held not as part of the projects, but at the end for anybody to ask anything either of the working group or of the projects themselves, and that we reduce the time for the presentations to like 3 minutes or 4 minutes, 3 minutes, because questions will follow that anyways, either of the working group or the various projects. Maybe we could, if you had it this way, if you want to extend the questions afterwards for the whole working group, more time for the questions for the whole working group so that there could be questions either of the project or the working group itself. But I would suggest, like, if you're only giving the working group 5 minutes, I think you should give the projects only about 3 minutes. And then questions, they already know questions are going to come, questions afterwards for anything.
Can I respond, Joel?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's for the first thing I was going to ask you was, are you suggesting that we save the questions for the end of the whole working group and the projects? And I love that idea. I'm only thinking reducing the funded project time to about 3 minutes. I feel like at 5 minutes, I already feel kind of rushed because I think initially we started with 10 minutes, but because we had more funded projects, we reduced to 5. But I don't know, Adonis. All of you here are more experienced with these meetings than I am. Do we feel that 3 minutes could be enough if we're proposing that they only share 2 slides, more of an information and updates sharing than anything else? Do we think 3 minutes would be sufficient for their presentations?
Well, we already have 3 minutes actually, because it says 5 minutes total. And then the presentation, we have a bit of a contradiction in the agenda. It says presentation for 5 minutes and then questions and clarifications.
Okay.
By the way, welcome Fardosa. Let's give a big round of applause for Fardosa, our new TCHC resident co-chair for community building.
Yes.
Very good.
Congratulations, Fardosa. You know, every single time I get an opportunity, I'm going to be saying congratulations. You know that.
Welcome here,
Thank you.
Fardosa.
Great.
We're just going through the agenda for the stakeholders table meeting on November 27th.
Okay.
So does that respond to your question? It looked like it did, Ismail. Like we already have 5 minutes. We're just moving those 2 minutes of questions into one block at the end for questions at the end.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Miguel? Miguel, I can't hear you. Maybe you're because you're muted. Still can't hear you, Miguel.
I don't have my hand up.
Oh, well, you do, but here, so maybe Ismail, you can take it down.
Sure.
Must have happened a mistake somehow. So I put in the chat, let's just make sure people have stuff to write with so they can write, and we prime them ahead of time. If you have any questions, you know, either remember them or write them down. That has been named as an issue by some people in the past, that they can't remember the questions by the end. So let's make it easy for them to remember them. I can make sure that we have paper or notebooks or something.
Okay. I think that is it for the agenda.
Okay, what's next?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Just, are we doing this in the living room or in Ada Slate?
In the
Living room.
Thank you.
Our
Okay.
task list.
Yeah, go ahead, Ismail. Okay, we've got 20 minutes, folks, and we've got a bunch of tasks to assign. So let's try to move through this, you know, in a timely way.
Okay. Oh, Joe, we also need to go over the budget today as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so catering again, Jill. Sorry, I hope no one heard that. Gail asked that we place the catering order. I think she said 5 days in advance. However, I do plan on connecting with her on Monday to see what the final number of registrations are, and I'll ask if we still have 5 days or if we need to place it that day. And if that's the case, I hope we can trust Gil to estimate how many people would be attending. I could ask the group here today. Right now, we have about 24 people that registered to attend. Do we have an estimate of how many people we're expecting? And I can use that I can share that with Gail.
Anybody want to make an estimate?
Because I think Gail's estimate was she had got a quotation for 40 people. Do we think 40 is accurate? Should we order for 60?
I don't think you'll get 60 people out, but you might split the difference.
Okay.
Do we do 40?
40 or 50, 40, 45.
I just want to note, Fardosa, I don't know if you've seen this registration link, but I'm putting it in the chat right here. We're asking everybody who comes to the stakeholders table meeting to register, to give us, that's our way of sort of knowing what your needs are, whether it's for food or child minding. So if you're able just to click on that and fill it out when you have a chance to. And if you're talking to people, Fardosa, about the meeting and they want to come, if you can share that with them, or just there's the poster too. It should be on the poster. You can connect them with Ismail. Ismail can register people.
Okay, I'll do that.
Booking space. Fareed just came back from vacation, or some time off actually. And Fareed said he would prepare a contract for us to use the space at Daniel Spectrum. I did reach out to him earlier today, now that he's back, and just awaiting his response on that. However, we did have communications with him before, and we did secure the space. It was just a matter of signing off on it. Donis, it looks like you and I are going to have a meeting after, hoping to connect with you soon. So I wanted to confirm this with you, Adonis, the hybrid assistance. Are you okay to take that on through Focus?
Yeah.
So I have the Zoom link. I guess when I come there, after this meeting, if we can connect sometime, maybe just a 10-minute phone call, we can just talk about how to do it. Unless, we'll connect and we'll talk about it. because I have the Zoom link. I'm not sure if I want to use my laptop or if there could be another laptop we can use, things like that. Just want to talk to you. Promotion and outreach. I've contacted Isha. Adonis has completed the poster, which was shared in the last 2 meetings. The ask now is to share in group chats. I know all our members over here are part of various group chats, so if we can share the registration link or even the poster that was shared in those group chats. I've talked to Isha about animators and haven't gotten anything conclusive yet. She did say she would add it to their newsletter and share that amongst the residents and animators. We had an idea about the info table in lobbies. However, I don't think we have the resources or the time to set that up right now. So I want to ask if I can remove this and maybe we save it for a future meeting.
Yeah. For me, yeah.
Anyone against or opposed to me removing this? I don't see any hands. I don't see anyone shaking their head. Okay. Oh, SDP quiz for engagement. I should add the link here. Apologies for that, but there is an SDP quiz asking simple questions about naming a working group, what residents think social development plan stands for, the full form, of course. And questions like that just to kind of raise awareness. And after the resident would choose one option, we format it as a quiz. So once they choose an option, whether it's correct or incorrect, it would let them know and it would it would give them the correct response with an explanation. So for example, the question about how many total years or how many years of funding do we have left with the SDP, including the current year? The correct answer would be 2. But so we would show the correct answer as well as the explanation.
How is it 2, buddy? It's 1 more year.
Well, including this. I know this year is ending. This question wasn't even on there, Willie. This question wasn't even on there. I was just making this up for an example. But you're right. You're right. And then we would just explain it was a total of 5 years. This is what the purpose of the funding was. And again, this is to increase awareness of the SDP. Reach out to all. What is this? I see my name. Oh. Okay, we've done this. I've actually given them templates of the information package, as well as suggestions to what should be presented on the day of. We had Joel contact childminding. Joel, is that booked?
Well, we have some booked. I just need to have final confirmation of how many kids. Well, not even final, but close to final. It's a question of do we have 1, 2, or 3?
I think we had 1 confirmed and then 1 as backup, Joel, like 1 on standby, a childminder. Okay.
That sometimes we need 3, but I don't think we did last time.
Understood. And for purchasing childminding toys, I know Sarah Jane is not here. However, I believe we received an updated budget about this meeting.
Yeah, let's adjust that with the budget.
Mm-hmm. So I'll leave this alone for now, but we'll address it when we get to the budget. Printing copies of Catch the Flavor. I believe Adonis.
Can I make a suggestion, Ismail? If there's anything that is new that needs to be addressed, let's talk about it. Otherwise, we'll just go. We don't even have to go through it. Like if there's any questions, let's address the questions or the uncertainties.
Thank you. Great suggestion. Just one question then. Can we ask for someone else to purchase the gift cards on the day of? I feel like I'm going to be very occupied the day of and the days leading up to the meeting where I don't know if I'll be able to go and purchase the gift cards. Is there someone over here who'd be willing to do that?
Is that your hand up, Adonis? Or sorry, Waleed and then Adonis?
Thank you, Joel. Yeah, I've heard this request from Ishmael repeatedly, so I think we should answer him about the gift card. So please let's provide a response. But Ishmael, you saw the email that I sent you from Daniela about the budget? Has that been discussed?
That's what we need to discuss today.
Okay, sounds good.
That's what I was hinting at. Thank you, Ali.
So My question was around the Castle flavor. So, Ismail, correct me if I'm wrong. Is each of the working groups giving you a summary of their reports for the working group?
That's what I asked for. But to be honest with you, I haven't gotten anything back.
Okay. All right. So that's the first question. And the second question, are the projects printing something about their reports that they're giving to you?
No. I asked them for the same thing, the summary and their slides. That's all I asked for. And I said anything else they need to, well, I didn't even explicitly say to bring it themselves, but they didn't ask about anything else or express that they wanted to present anything else.
Okay.
At least for us, for evaluations, no, I don't think it's the evaluations. I forget which item it was, but we were talking about printing it out ourselves rather than having it emailed to me to arrange to print out everything, basically making each group responsible for their own printouts. Does that help at all, Adonis?
No, not for me in terms of what we're putting in Catch the Flavor, but yeah, okay, I'll connect with the working groups around what they have what they're gonna put out in terms of that. Or maybe both of us. Well, CCU as well. And if you have information from any of the working groups, can you pass it on to me as soon as you can?
Yes.
If we get photos from any of the projects, you could pass it on to me. At least we can include those, if nothing else. I'll connect with Joel in terms of what he wants written into the Catch the Flavor for the regarding the culture, shaping culture. But my understanding is we're not putting the whole document, it's just a little summary about it. Yeah, okay, that's pretty much it, unless there's something else I missed. I'll probably put out all the projects that were funded in 2023 and a little description of all the projects based on what I've sent you already, Esmo.
For 2023, I think the email that you sent me was 21, right?
No, it must be 22, right?
So the list that we contacted, the funded projects that we contacted was from a 2021 list of an email that you found from Oleg, I believe. And then after we had contacted them, we found the 2022 list. And we haven't contacted the 2022 list for a report back. So this list that we're looking at of people reporting back is from 2021's funding. I can find that email again, Adonis, and I'll share that with you just so we're on the same page.
Hello?
Michael, I think there's a correction here too, but Adonis, you got a furrowed brow. But I'll go to Michael and then either me or Adonis.
I thought it was 22.
Yeah, I mean, first I was going to say, if Adonis isn't going to put out the whole culture documents, we will have the whole document available in some form at the meeting, right?
Yes.
And yeah, the other thing is I'm pretty sure these were the 2022 projects because I don't think the Filipinos was in 2021. That's one I remember was more recent. So I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Michael's right, and I think that's what you were going to say too, Adonis. I think this are some of them 2021. I think for again, Filipinos, yes, is 2022. I think the focus one is 2022, isn't it, Adonis?
Yeah.
So we don't need to sort that out here, but we probably should have it clearly communicated in the meeting. Okay, and I don't want to sort it out here. I'd like to move on to the budget because we only have a few minutes left, and we do need to address this budget question. So,
May I just add something really quickly, Joel?
go ahead.
Adonis, as part of the things that we're going to be handing out the day of, like physical copies, the information packages will be emailed to everyone a week in advance. So the information packages has the summaries of all the projects and has the agenda. And we were talking about having a couple physical copies to give to people on the day of. People who can't access it through the computer and things like that. So if your concern is about making sure that the agenda and the information packages are on Catch the Flavor because of the deadline to print and everything, I think it would be covered since we'll have it as a standalone copy.
Okay. If that is all good, we're going to move to the budget.
Joe, we also
So,
have assigning roles, but you want to just go to the budget right now?
oh, the roles, yeah. I think I
Yes.
want to go to the, yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I don't think I managed the time well in this meeting. Apologies. I think budget should go before roles. I don't know. Actually, you as a lead organizer, Ismail, maybe I'll let you decide which goes first.
I think if we have enough folks attend next week's meeting, we would be able to kind of take care of all of this. So next week's planning meeting, we would have to sort out who's doing what. So I think it's okay to just talk about the budget today. I think the budget is the more pressing matter today.
Actually, I would ask, just from experience, can we simply clarify who our facilitators are? And our practice has been that the co-chairs be the facilitators. Is that the understanding that we are going with again, folks? Or do we need to clarify? Do we need to sort of take a bit more time to decide that?
I think
So this
that's
is Waleed and Marlene.
yeah, I think that's what we're going to be proceeding with. Leah and Ines are going to join us for sure. We'll just split up the agenda.
Has that been discussed among the four of you already?
No, we're going to discuss it next week.
Yeah, make sure you do that, please. Okay, that's all I wanted to put in there. So budget. Would this be who wants to present this one? Waleed, do you want to, or I don't know, Ismail? I think we've got some communication from the city.
Also, yeah, I can present that. It was emailed to me, but they set serious expectations.
Marlene, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
They set expectations for the budget that we need to consider. So, could we circulate the budget as part of the agenda, especially those that are have tasks related to the SDP stakeholders tables, just to see if the spending is reasonable?
So folks, the budget that was communicated to us was $2,200, and we had 4,500 for barrier reductions, and that's what Adonis and I were working with when we came up with this budget. But they said that we have 2,200 for this meeting, and Joel put together a proposal of what we can use the money towards, given that we have a new budget. So if we can all just take a look and maybe share input on this.
And just to clarify, this is just a conversation starter. It's just numbers, just to be able to move from here. Anything here can be changed except the bottom number unless we have some other source of funding. Marlene.
Is that, we have the 4,500 plus the 2,200? Or
no, we don't have 45. 45 was the initial, and the second column is the revised proposal.
I think it's very low, as usual.
Couple notes here. The 960 for food is a $16 plate. I understand the caterer has offered a plated meal for 16, and then so that was 60. Now we've just said that we think it'll be 40 or 50, so we could reduce this line in alignment with what we've said. I don't know whether we would want what number of plates we want to put in, but let's just put a number of plates in. Marlene, is that new or old?
Yes, it's new. When you come up with that first number, it usually does not include tax, tip, and the containers they have to go into. Or, cutlery usually, yes, but not necessarily the containers. And there's usually a tip.
Is that the case? Do you know, Ismail, having been in touch a little bit, is that the case in this instance?
I haven't spoken with the caterer directly. It was through Joel through Gail, and Gail did not make that clear to me.
So let's clarify that. So that we can't really land on that line item at the moment. Let's say it's in the range of $1,000 or so. Marlene, you did this last time, right?
I did, yep.
Do you remember what the plated price was last time?
About $20 a person.
20. Well, maybe we can just put that in as a possible amount.
But we went after more money because it was just refused. So we went after private funding.
No, but what was the actual cost?
I'd have to look it up.
Of one plate.
I think it was around 20, but I'm not totally sure.
That's just helpful as a ballpark anyway. Like that would, so 50 plates would be $1,000, 40 would be 800.
I think mine came to about 1,200 actually. Seems to me. And I didn't hand out a tip. And that's the only saving, but that would have been a couple of $100.
Other comments on what we should do with the budget? Take care, Fardosa.
Thank you, John.
Oh yeah, it is 3 o'clock. The city's asking us to submit an itemized budget. To me, the biggest question I have is for Catch the Flavor Adonis. And it was the bottom line, so I just put the number in that was left over. But not saying that I'm not sure what to do. Like that's really quite a reduced amount.
Let me see, how many copies is that? 430?
I figured that out. I think it would be about 40. Is that what I figured out? 35?
It would be at least 100.
100?
Yeah, $3.75 a copy.
Oh yeah, one third of, yeah, 100. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Oh, I have this, Joel, if you want this.
What is it?
It came to $1,782.50.
No, what we need is the per plate.
I'd have to add it up here.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We can, that just was a ballpark just to help with an estimation.
Okay.
Shall we just leave it at that, folks? And I guess, I think the task is to maybe we can even share this budget with the city and say that some of the line items may shift a little bit, but that this is all our ballpark. And maybe note, folks, we're dropping the we're not going to buy anything for childminding. Although Sarah Jane has really done a lot of work on this, and she has a good idea of having the kids make buttons. And she wasn't sure if she had a person who could do that, but I'll be in touch with her. I think we can make sure that button making can happen. At least there's a very good chance of it. So that's a good activity for the kids to do.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're just we'll just say that that's enough for now. Adonis, if other items, maybe we could also say if there is other money that comes available, we can put that into printing more copies of Catch de Flava?
I've got the answer for you, Joel.
Okay, so Ismail and then Marlene.
I was gonna ask if perhaps we can cut the cost by also taking out the DJ, since it was kind of like we were in the middle, we were gonna do both, and then we had the proposal of doing the videos. Would it be appropriate to use that money towards Catch the Flava and maybe even the food rather than paying a DJ?
I'm okay with that. Any concerns about that?
I got concerns about that.
Mhm.
We made a decision. We can't just go back on it because we have a limited budget proposed by the city when we have more funds available through the 50K. One of the biggest issues that we're going to deal with is we're not spending money. We're underspending. And that's because of poor budgeting. So I don't want to cut that from the program because we're not sure we have enough money. We need to just ask the city to allocate more.
Oh, well, that's a different question. So you're wanting to go back and see if we can get more than the 2,200? That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. Well, we have a budget for last year. Let's make comparisons with last year. Let's keep spending within that period. I think we're spending less than last year. So I don't see a problem. I just do not want to run into a situation at the end of the cycle where, look, you guys don't deserve money because you're not spending money.
I guess we have to defer this to next week. Marlene, what was the amount?
Okay, it worked out to, and I'll tell you why. Okay, we started off with $15 a plate, but by the time I bought, some like dessert, tea, lemonade, the containers, a few desserts, it came to $25.46 a plate. And we still ran out of food.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Marlene, could you
it was
just
supposed to
repeat the
be-
dessert part? Sorry. You
Yeah.
said $15 a plate plus.
There was tea, lemonade, dessert, forks, napkins, containers for the food. And we started off with a basic budget of $15, which she said that's what it would be. But when we added these other things, which were needed, I mean, we could have done without the dessert, but it wasn't hugely expensive. It came out to, went from $15 to $25.46.
Okay, thanks, folks. So I think we got the information we need. We're gonna have to bring this back to next week. Marlene?
Yeah, we had 70 people.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Can we, if we need to, we got a couple decisions here, but we'll have to make them next week. Okay. So we'll note this conversation that we've had so far, and let's lead with the budget next week. So thanks, everybody.
Before we conclude the meeting, could Joel and Ishmael just stick around for a second? I need to talk to you folks about something.
I have very little time. I know.
I'm going to be very quick.
This is for my son and my daughter, so you better be quick.
Okay, sounds good.
The rest of us leave.
You don't have to stick around for this conversation. I actually just think because it was about communication between YSM and T60 staff. So I'd rather keep it confidential for now. I don't want to create any problems. Okay.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye, Marlene.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.